Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by user foreign friend. The post is titled AITAH for telling my wife she's free to find a hotel room if she doesn't want my daughter here. My daughter Anna is 16 years old. She was in an accident when I was 24. Anna's mother and I were never together as a couple because it was a one-night stand, but we have maintained a friendly and healthy co-parenting relationship since she was born, and we became good friends. My daughter has been living on another continent for a few years with her mother and stepfather, but she wants to come back because she doesn't feel comfortable there and misses her family and friends. Anna doesn't know their language well, and it's still hard for her to learn it fully, so she feels really lonely there since it is different to speak your native language than to make friends by speaking a foreign language from scratch. I spoke with my daughter's mother and we thought it was a good idea to let Anna live with me. Her room is now my home office, but I can easily put together a room for her again. We didn't confirm anything. I talked to my wife about it first, and I was sure that she was going to be okay with that because we literally talked about that possibility before. The problem is that my wife doesn't want that to happen. My wife and Anna have never been close because they only met in person for our wedding when I was able to pay for a ticket for my daughter to come. That was the last time I saw my daughter in person too. Plane tickets are too expensive. They do tend to talk a little bit when I make video calls with Anna every day, but not too much. Anna also talks to her brother and he likes her a lot even if they just see each other on video calls. My wife says Anna is not going to feel comfortable in a house with strangers, and I told her that we are literally her family. She said no, she and our toddler are not Anna's family because they barely know her in person. It honestly hurts me that she thinks that way, but I understand her point of view, although our toddler is Anna's brother, and it really annoyed me that she said that because our little one really loves his sister, even if they just see each other online. I had an argument with my wife about it, and I ended up telling her that my daughter will always come first of all because it's true. For me, my children will always come before any other person, and she knew very well about my daughter when we married. My wife got angry and said that bringing Anna home would change how we handle ourselves and that she doesn't want to be a stepmother. She said that Anna lived with her mother on another continent, so it's not the same as having her right here every day. I told her that no one is asking her to be a stepmother because I will be the one who takes care of her as always. My daughter used to stay many days and even months with me, and I was the one who took care of her. I'm not going to give my wife all the work because I was a single father for a long time. And I know how to take care of my daughter. I work, I clean, I cook, I take full care of our son when she works and wants to go out and do something, just like she does with me. We both support each other in raising our son. I don't know why many people are so shocked about the fact that I take responsibility for my own child. But I added that if she doesn't respect my daughter's presence in the house and hates it that much, then she has all the freedom to go to a hotel room. I was a big idiot because those words obviously ended up really bad and we had a worse argument. My daughter has every right to live in my house if she wants, but my wife doesn't want that. I really love my wife, but my biggest focus is to give the best to my children, and I would love to have my princess here after years. My wife hasn't been talking to me at all, and she's very angry, but she does continue with the same stance that she doesn't want Anna here at all. I know I will get angry, and we will end up arguing again because I'm not going to leave my daughter alone either. Edit. My wife always knew that Anna lived with me several days a week when she was still in the country because I talked with her about that and the possibility of Anna's family returning to the country if things went wrong. That would have meant that Anna would come back to live with me for many days or even months like she always did. My daughter used to come to my house every day too. My wife agreed with that years ago when we talked about it, but now admits that she thought my daughter was going to stay out of the country with her mother because their business is going really well. Throw away because my daughter uses Reddit too. I changed some data to not make it too obvious. Edit 2. I've been reading the comments nonstop for 2 hours and I have too much to think about. Thank you very much for the advice, whether bad or good. This is helping me to reflect on several things that I did not take into account. But please don't be so harsh because I'm a real person. User Bewitching Chick said, your wife doesn't want to be a stepmother, full stop. She doesn't want anything to do with your daughter. She's going to be awful to her. I would reevaluate my relationship if anyone told me this. Edit, the fact that this woman doesn't realize she is a stepmother already is absolutely insane and messed up. Under this comment, another user said, I feel like people might get confused, not wanting to be a step-parent. Totally understandable and fine. You just met someone and they have kids. You're like, that's not where I want to go. I don't want to be a stepdad. Totally fine. You marry someone with a child already and a weird living schedule and arrangements, and you don't want to be a stepmom. Gigantic red flag. User Plum did it said, to be honest, your marriage is over. Your wife openly doesn't want your daughter around, and even if she claims to change her mind to keep the marriage, it would be a lie. Even if she tried to pretend, people pick up on it when they aren't wanted or liked, so your daughter would literally feel your wife's dislike. You cannot bring your daughter into a home with your wife. It would harm her. User Danger Zone. Pete said, tough situation OP. Sorry you're going through this. Way to stand up for your daughter. She's lucky to have you. How did you and your wife talk about this possibility before you got married? How long ago was that? What is your sense of her true disagreement here? The idea of bringing someone new into the house and family is a huge change, especially with a 2-year-old at home. Maybe she was okay with the idea at one point and now she's not. Maybe she was never okay with it in the first place and thought it would never happen. Maybe she's potentially okay with it, but is just overwhelmed and scared she won't be able to handle having 2 kids. As much as you say she won't need to stepmom your daughter, she will. Marriage is a partnership, and so is parenting and step-parenting. Your daughter moving in is your responsibility as a father and a massive change to your wife's life. You're not the jerk, but if you really want what's best for your family, you should figure out if your wife is serious about not liking or wanting your daughter or just struggling with the thought of raising a second child. Not long after, OP provided an update. First of all, I want to clarify that I am from a third world country. Here it is really expensive to get a plane ticket, and if I travel, I must do it with my wife and our son too. So it is too much money that we cannot pay. I let my daughter's mother take her to another country because, like every father, I want her to have better life opportunities. I don't think that makes me a bad father, but I guess the minds that have always lived in privilege don't understand. The last time I could afford some tickets was for my daughter to come to the wedding. Not all of us have the privilege of paying for a plane flight. I've been thinking a lot, and in fact, I'm the jerk because of the way I treated my wife. Even if most of the comments agreed with me, I don't think it was right to say that to the woman I love, even though I was angry. I apologized to her for what I said and the way I said it, but I told her that I don't like it when she ignores me and gives me the cold shoulder when I try to talk about our issues. The fact that she denied the familiarity between our son and daughter was just cruel. She apologized for it and said she was angry and said things she regrets. I made it clear to her that Anna is coming because no one can forbid any of my children to live with me. Not only morally, but legally, I am totally obligated to give my daughter and son a house. She tried to argue, but I asked her how she would feel if we divorced, and my new girlfriend refused to let our son live with me just because she didn't sign up for it. I asked her if she would appreciate a man who abandons his children for a woman more than a man who cares about his children, if she would feel confident knowing that she is married to a man who abandons his children that easily. My wife said no, that obviously she knows how much I care about our children and hates the kind of men who abandon their kids. That she knew she wanted to have a child with me because she saw how, even though my daughter was so far away, I made video calls to her every day and we always help each other with things around the house. Then I asked her why she rejects the idea of my daughter being here, and she admitted being jealous of Anna. It is something that I have noticed in the past. For example, for one of my daughter's birthdays, I sent money to her mother to buy her a dress that was quite expensive, and my wife just said, "I guess you will buy our son something just as expensive." It was my mistake to let those comments pass and think they were just a weird joke. She said that she doesn't want my daughter to come and take time away from our son. That bothered me, and I told her that if we had 2 children, my time would also be divided and that as a father, I can give the same attention to both. Changing our routine doesn't have to be a negative thing, and she knows that Anna is not a problem teenager. We talked a lot, and I explained to her that I just want to make everything work for both of us. I apologized if I made her feel bad with the way I treated her, and I told her that I want to really hear what things are bothering her so we can understand each other better. We agreed to have better dialogue and communication about these kinds of things. My wife admitted that her jealousy is wrong and feels embarrassed about it, but it's how she feels, and she feels awful for feeling like that. I told her that feeling isn't right, being jealous of my daughter isn't right, and I told her that it would be okay to start going to the psychologist if we want to fix this because I'm not going to let my daughter live in a place where she doesn't feel loved. My wife accepted after talking about it a lot these days, and she wants to work on herself about that because she doesn't like feeling like that about a little girl and knows it's wrong. My wife and daughter always had a nice treatment. When I make video calls with Anna, my wife usually talks a little but not that much. I think my mistake was not offering my wife to make video calls alone with Anna like Anna does with my toddler sometimes. My daughter really likes my wife and calls her auntie, even if they don't know each other too well, so I don't want her to know how my wife really feels about her. I offered my wife to teach her how to play the same video game I play with my daughter so they can play together and get to know each other more. I know Anna would love that. They both have a lot of the same interests. She accepted and said she loves me and wants to try it for me and for our toddler. If I leave my wife, I would be breaking my son's home. He's my baby too, and the last thing I want is letting adult matters affect him. I don't want to do that, and I love this woman. I want this to work, and I'm going to do my part for it, but the first moment she treats my daughter badly, I will end things with her. I clarified that to her, and she was okay with that and promised me to work on this. I still haven't confirmed anything to Anna's mother about the date on which our daughter can come, since I need to fix the room for her first, and I want my wife and little girl to get to know each other better. Talking about it with my psychologist, he told me that the best thing is always to get them closer little by little before Anna comes to live here. These last 4 days, my wife and Anna have been talking longer, and I told Anna that we could teach my wife how to play with us. Anna feels really comfortable talking with my wife, and they started talking about random things which I feel out of because I don't understand the things they talk about, but I'm pretty glad to see that they actually have things to talk about. I suppose a lot of people are going to call me an idiot for not divorcing my wife because that was what most of the comments told me, but it's not all that simple as, yeah, we argued, so let's get divorced and have 50-50 custody. And I personally think it's been better for us to have spoken up like mature people instead of just getting divorced. Seeing that my wife has opened up to me and is trying to work things out, I prefer to give this a second chance and hope that she can see my daughter as her friend and even as her family if she allows it to herself. Your wife is going to treat your daughter badly. No one can read the future to say that, but I can work to make that future not happen. In the meantime, I prefer to maintain a positive approach since my wife has never behaved badly with my daughter, and my daughter knows that if she feels uncomfortable, she can talk about it with her mom, stepdad, or me, as we always teach her to talk to us about anything that makes her uncomfortable. Anna has a sharp tongue, so I doubt she'll stay quiet if my wife makes any comments that make her uncomfortable. I'm not going to force them to be best friends. I want them both to flow on their own. I'm also not going to use my daughter as a free babysitter as many in the comments suggested as a supposed solution, and both she and her brother can live in this house as long as they want. Edit. In the previous post, several people said that my wife also made a post here, but it's false. She doesn't use this site. In OP's next update, he said, I didn't really think about updating again, but I remembered that I have the account and I thought, why not? Since I have free time at this moment while I take care of my toddler. My daughter and my wife's relationship is going very well. They both make video calls to watch some series together that they both like. They have even started to have inside jokes that I don't understand, but I think that's something good. Although, to be honest, now I feel a little left out. Just joking. My wife has been going to the psychologist to work on her insecurities and problems because she knows that feeling jealous of my daughter is not good at all. A few weeks ago, she talked to my daughter about her feelings towards her and apologized. My daughter was quite surprised to learn that my wife felt this way, but accepted the apology and told her that she understands her. I left them talking alone that day so they could have privacy, and after that, they have had a closer bond. My wife said that my daughter told her that she will always respect someone who is sincere and wants to be a better person. In the previous post, many said that I decided to bring my daughter without talking about it with my wife before, but that's literally what I did. I never confirmed anything to the mother of my daughter until I spoke with my wife. I was never the partner of my daughter's mother, by the way. Many comments mentioned her as my ex-wife, but we were never anything. The talk about bringing my daughter back was paused because I wanted them to know each other better before living together, but my wife started to talk about how she wanted to decorate the bedroom and rejected all my ideas because they were too boring for a girl. So she's having fun redecorating the room with our toddler, who's really happy to see his sister in person. We still haven't arranged a date because my daughter's mother has to talk with her high school about the problems there, and I have to prepare everything here too, but all is going well step by step. A couple of months later, OP gave us his final update. I just wanted to have one last update before deleting the account since I don't see the point of continuing to have it. My daughter has been living with us for weeks now, and my wife and she get along well. Her little brother adores her, and they can finally spend time together in person. He's really excited to have her home now. My wife has been working a lot on herself, and I have noticed how much she has changed in a good way and how her relationship with my daughter is good. I noticed it especially when we went to pick up my daughter at the airport, and my wife was very excited to see her. They had been watching movies together online for months. She is no longer jealous of my daughter, and although it is a process that takes time, I know that she is making an effort. My daughter has not started school here, so she will have to wait until next year. Anyway, we decided to bring her now since in a few months the tickets will be much more expensive. It was my wife who told me that and that she felt ready to spend time in person with her. I was really happy to hear her say that. I didn't expect her to already feel ready to tell me that. My daughter lived in a country in Asia. Although it was a really beautiful and safe country, it was very difficult for her to adapt, and there bullying is something very serious, much more so towards her who had so much difficulty with the language. Sometimes she obviously misses her mom, but they text a lot. I try to spend as much time as I can with her so that she doesn't miss her mother and stepfather too much. I also take her to see our relatives, and she has met my wife's family as well. But in general, I know that she feels happy here, and she has told me that she missed her grandparents, uncles, and cousins. The whole family is very happy that she is back here. My wife and I are doing great, and I've also worked on myself by going to therapy. Now, we talk a lot whenever something bothers us or we have some discontent. I think the key is that we can communicate even if they are dark thoughts. I know that she is a good person, and like everyone, she has dark thoughts, but she is a good person because she works on improving herself, and I'm doing that too. I love her, and I know she's a good mother who wouldn't treat my daughter badly. I like to take care of our children, take care of them, clean and cook for them, although sometimes I find it hard to understand that my daughter now does all that by herself, and I don't have to do it, haha, but she is still small in my eyes, just like her brother. Anyway, I'm sorry if it's a boring update and everyone expected me to divorce my wife, but things are like this. Luckily, we are starting to solve our problems. They now have a relationship of friends, and I like that if they are happy like that. This next post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named ExactMeat. The post is titled AITAH for telling my daughter to find another place to live because she's pregnant again. I am 49F, and my daughter Josie, 19, had her first baby when she was 15. My husband and I were devastated at first because we knew this was going to be a very difficult path for our daughter. We did all we could to give her education, but it wasn't enough, and we couldn't turn back time. So all we could do was support her in what she wanted to do. My husband and I helped Josie take care of our grandson and encouraged her to finish high school. She never did because she said her priority was being a mother and she didn't have time to invest in finishing high school. We told her she would either go to school or get a job, but we weren't going to give her the option of doing neither for more than a year after she gave birth. So she got a part-time job at a hair salon. The father of my grandson, who was her age, would give her about $100 a month for baby-related stuff and would come over every couple of months to see his son, but that was all he did, although he lived in the same city as his son. A few days ago, Josie broke the news to us that she's pregnant again. The father is the same boy who got her pregnant the first time. My husband and I were pissed. How can she get pregnant by that boy for the second time when he was very obviously not consistent or helpful with their first baby? And with Josie living with us rent-free and us having to take care of my grandson for her so she can work, go out, etc. This does not seem fair at all that she can add another baby into this mess. After a few days of thinking about it and discussing it with my husband, we decided to tell Josie to move in with the father of her children and raise the children together. She said they're not in a relationship, so they can't live together and they wouldn't be able to afford it anyway. I told her she needs to figure something out because we are not willing to raise another baby for her. She said, "You're never satisfied with anything I do. You told me to get a job, so I did, and now you're complaining that you had to raise the baby. You wouldn't have had to if I didn't have to work. I can't do both things at once, and I definitely can't raise two kids on my own and work. "What 19-year-old can do that?" I replied, "We tried to teach you how to be responsible after your first baby, and we did all we could to be there for you. You clearly haven't learned a thing, and it's not our job to keep picking up after you. So before your baby arrives, discuss living arrangements with the father and figure something out." She has been crying and not talking to us since. She's called both sets of her grandparents to speak to my husband and me and change our minds so we can help her raise her babies. My husband's parents think we're being very harsh and punishing her for something that's already happened, which isn't helpful. They offered to take Josie and our grandson in, but Josie doesn't want to take her kids so far away from their dad. My in-laws are saying we'll regret abandoning our daughter and that we should be showing her a better example of unconditional love. I just don't know what more we could do without sacrificing our own lives. User Early Tale said they're not in a relationship, but yet she's continuing to have babies by him. Time to cut the cord and make her get her own place. She's been working for 4 years rent-free. She should have enough saved up now. User Thunderplant said, "I know she's 19, but does she not realize that if she didn't have a job, then you'd just be even more on the hook financially instead? It feels like she's completely missing the point here, which is she feels entitled for you to support her with both time and money. She even admits she can't work and raise 2 kids. So then why have a second when she knows it will rely on support you didn't consent to? That's just not how it works. I do feel bad for her, but you are absolutely NTA." User A Rose said she chose to procreate, now she needs to deal with the consequences and take responsibility for her children. Sounds like she thought if she has another, you won't force her to work and you'll let her become a stay-at-home mom. User Sleight of Hand said, "Easy for everyone who is unwilling to step up themselves to criticize you. Your daughter is refusing accountability. She's really calling your parents and her grandparents, trying to have them convince you to help her with another mistake. She needs to give the child up for adoption or get an abortion. Otherwise, she is burdening other people with her bad choice. And daughter doesn't want to live with grandparents because she'll be too far away from the hapless impregnator." Sounds like a plan that might slow down daughter from another thoughtless pregnancy. User Divine Tarot said, "I despise the mentality your daughter has. I really do. I get it's her right to decide on whether to have a baby or not, but clearly she's exercising it with the idea that she'll have someone else to pay the bills or look after him. She simply does not grasp that other people exist, have needs and wants, and have no desire to look after her, and sadly your in-laws are motivating that level of selfishness." User 2 Bionic Knees said she has already ruined her life. She has a basic lack of understanding of how the world works, and I don't know if that's your fault or hers. You need to sit her stupid ass down with a prepared amount of information. You need to show her every single bill you cover. You need to show her grocery bills, water bills, mortgage bills. You need to show her how much money you needed for a down payment on the house. You need to show her how much a car costs, how much diapers cost, how much everything costs. You need to make her understand that a normal family who have a kid need to be making a certain threshold of money to afford a child. Your parents' money is not your money. People grow up, move out, get jobs, and pay for their own place, their own food, their own child. She got a part-time job that pays jack shit and doesn't cover her own living costs, let alone costs for a kid. Show her rentals in the area on any old real estate website, and show her the minimum she would be paying for the worst place in the city, and try to make her understand she is not making anywhere near enough to support herself or her child. This is the time, honestly, for basically blackmail. You can stay here if you either have an abortion, get a full-time job, or the boyfriend is sued immediately for child support, which will force him to get a real job and start contributing properly. She can have more kids when she's moved out and paying for her own place and her own kids. If she and her dumbass baby daddy get to the point that their joint wages can afford to move out, rent a place, and pay for everything, then you'll gift them like $5,000 for first and last rent and some furniture. Until then, she lives by your rules or leaves. If you go along, if you aren't harsh, if you give in, then this is the first 2 of many kids she'll have.